Okay, here's a quick rundown on some settings for CamStudio. As you can see, I'm using the original 2.0 version over here. Um, for options, video options, I always set to Xvid, and then I hit Configure. I make sure this, which by default usually is at 4, switch that to 1, and I go up here to More. And I generally turn this, which by default is H263, I change it to MPEG, and I uncheck this box here. That's if I'm going to be having any kind of motion at all. Okay. Then I go down here, and this is normally a general purpose. I change it to real time. Then I click other options, and I make sure that this is unchecked, display encoding status. These are just my routine things that I do for every recording. And once you set it, it remembers what your settings are. Okay, so that's Xvid all set up. Now I am doing capture frames at 50 and 20. These two, when you multiply them, these two boxes, they should come to a product of 1,000. Okay, so here we have 50 times 20 is 1,000. You can check this box, and it'll have lock, capture, and playback rates. Will keep the only values available. Will keep them multiplying to 1,000. If you really want to push it hard, go to 5,200 or 8,125 or 10,100, and you'll have to adjust the playback rate in software. Sometimes YouTube will accept this just the way it is, but usually if you're going to use these fast playback rates, you'll get smoother capture because you're pushing your card as fast as it can. As you see, the actual input rate here is 15 frames per second, even though in my video options I've got it set to capture at 25, but it only pushes it as hard as it feels like your machine's got resources or something. I have no idea. So even though I'm asking it to capture every 40 and do a playback rate of 25, the actual input rate is only 15 here. If I had set that to a higher number, I would have gotten a higher frames per second. Okay, so that's why I tell you that you can set this to a higher value where the playback rate is a higher number, and that will make the system work harder. Okay, all right, so then once you have that in place, now mind you, if you have a fast playback rate, you're also going to have shorter time lengths that you can record. So what I had 40, 25. So for audio, it's the next big thing. Make it so it says record audio from microphone. Don't use record audio from speakers. You can try it, but it doesn't work on practically any computers nowadays. Record audio from microphone, then go in here to audio options for microphone, and set your recording device. If you're trying to get game audio, you're going to have to use stereo mix to get the thing in, or go get the voice meter, okay, or the VB audio from the same locations. I'll include the links in the video. And so that's if you want game audio. The voice meter thing is nice because it lets you mix your microphone in with the game audio, and so that's nice, and it gets around the listen to trick that I show in one of my other videos. And it's doing pretty much the same thing in many ways, but it's easier to set up, and it remembers how you had things set up. Okay. For what I'm doing right now, I had it set just to my microphone, which is a blue eyeball. Same thing as a snowflake by Blue Microphones. You set your rate in here. It defaults to going at a real low rate of 22. I would set it to 44 if you're doing a YouTube upload. That's what they want. They want 44.1 stereo 16-bit. Now if you're going into a type of interface where you're winding up with your microphone only in one channel, in the left channel for instance, you can go ahead and set this to mono. It'll create a pseudo mono, a stereo thing with the same signal going into both. And then you'll see that reflected down here. Always use the PCM compression format for this. These others don't work so great. but 80 PCM does work pretty well. Here we go. So, I usually take interleave off. The last thing to consider is the region. Use fixed region. Set it to the region you want. I recommend most people's computers are not powerful enough to do 1080p, but most are capable of doing 1280 by 720, which is 720p. And that looks great on all machines. And you can have a fixed top left corner, like I did over on this one. I fixed it to 520 by 355 in order to get so I could get down into see some of the tray. As you can see, I could have set this number higher. The left I could have set maybe to 550 or 560 in order to push this right edge over a little more in case I had wanted to show like the speaker icon or something. But that's how you use that. If you're going to set this number using the select button, make sure this is on checked before you push select. Okay, the way select works is you have this on checked, push select, you drag out your region. I'll drag out a region. Here we go, and it puts in the numbers. Then go in and adjust this so that it says 1280 by 720, and you'll see your area that you picked is up in here. And now you check that, and now it'll actually use the setting that you dragged out with the top and left. Okay, so let's try that again and see what it would have been if I had instead made my left be over there. Let's see. No, that wouldn't be it. Let's try it this way. Select again. I'm going to select from a little off to the right and try to approximate what a 1270 should look like. Okay, so it's saying my left would have been about 680 actually, if I wanted to include the tray bar and the clock. Anyway, just remember to check that once you're done, and then when you start a video, it'll automatically show the little flashing cursors. Now if you don't want to see the flashing cursor, then go into program options here and say hide flashing cursor. You have to check that in order to make it go away. Alright, I don't recommend minimizing. That minimizes it to the taskbar, down to the tray, down to the tray, not to the taskbar. The thing that's in your taskbar, like you see this one right here, you see that's flashing in these later versions. Okay, and I didn't minimize this for this one. If I had minimized it, you wouldn't see this up here because it would be in the tray bar next to the clock. You would see the flashing, and a lot of people make the mistake of closing the flashing, clicking the X, and that breaks CamStudio pretty bad. You have to go into the tray and right click and exit or stop from there. I usually double click it to make it come back up so it's visible again, and I push stop. Alright, so you got region and the main options, program options. There's some record to flash options if you decide to use them. This little sun shaped thing changes. See, now it's record to flash or SWIFT. Okay, record to MP4. It's still broken at the moment. It'll work pretty soon. It makes an AVI and then tries to do a conversion to FFmpeg. But you may as well just do the conversion to FFmpeg manually using any program you have available. And I would keep it record to AVI at this point, no matter what you're doing. Okay, because there's better flash converters and there's better MPEG-4 converters at the moment. But if you want the convenience for the flash, it'll make a flash file for you. If you're going to do the flash, I recommend that you do not have this checked. See where it says delete the intermediate AVI upon completion? Get rid of that. Uncheck it. Don't have it checked, because in case it crashes and doesn't make the SWIFT file, you want to have that AVI file so you can do a manual conversion. If it worked fine, sure, then go in and manually delete the file. But you don't have a backup if you have that checked. And future versions, that won't be checked by default. Okay? And you can display the conversion options before generating the SWF, and that's a good idea to do because it gives you some more control over what's going to happen next. Okay, so I hope that's enough to get you going. I'm not going to cover all these other things, the tools and effects in this video. I'm trying to keep it short because a lot of people complain my others are all too long. Okay, so that's all for today, and make some videos. Thanks.